What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to day 2 of Going for 25 Days of Christmas. That's the name of what I'm calling this upload streak all the way up until Christmas or until we hit 300 subscribers. I'm calling it Going for 25 Days of Christmas. I hope y'all enjoyed the intro. But let's talk about it. The Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers might have doomed the NBA. I want to talk about how they've been so far this season and how their play is setting up for OKC to be really, really good for a very, very long time. But before I do that, man, make sure the subscribe button. We're on the road to 300 subs. I want to hit 300 subs by the new year. I think we're about 20 away. That cannot be done without your help. Appreciate the love. Like, comment, share with your folks. So let's get right into it. Okay. A 140 to 123 loss to the Miami Heat tonight drops the Clippers record to 5-16. 5-16, that gives them the 6th worst record in the NBA. And why that is significant to the rest of the NBA is because the Clippers don't own their own pick, y'all. The Oklahoma City Thunder own their own pick. They own the Clippers pick, I'm sorry. And along with the Clippers pick, they also own the Jazz pick if it lands outside of the top 8. And I think they also own the 76ers pick if it's outside the top 4 or something like that. But the Clippers pick is the one that we're focusing on because there are no protections on that pick. And it's crazy how in 2025, what would be the 2026 NBA draft, the Clippers are still being affected. The NBA is still being affected by a trade that was made in 2019 that landed Paul George in LA with Kawhi Leonard. Hindsight is 2020. I will say hindsight is 2020. But in 2019, that looked like a good deal. You know, you bring in Kawhi Leonard, who had just won the Finals MVP with the Raptors. You bring in Paul George, who was just 3rd in MVP voting with OKC Thunder. And you put them two together, and you don't really have to give up a big piece of your core. They gave away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was not the Shai he is now by no means, and Danilo Gallinari along with a host of draft picks. But for OKC, they turned that trade into an NBA championship. Of course, led by the centerpiece of that deal for them, Shai Gilgeous, and one of those draft picks that ended up turning into Jalen Williams with the 12th overall pick. They ended up building a championship team. And they won the championship last year, and they're 20-1 right now this year. I may hop on the video and talk about them. If they get to the Warriors 24-1, then I'm gonna hop on here and talk about how they're gonna break the record. But until then, I'm gonna hold off a little bit. But for OKC, it just keeps getting better and better, because this trade could literally be this draft pick for the 2026 from the Clippers could literally be a top 3 pick. And I know maybe I'm speaking worst case scenario for the rest of the league, but this could break the league. This could ruin the NBA. You know, the parity in the NBA, it could be over. You know, OKC, I know this is a Clippers video. I'm going to talk about the Clippers, but I got to talk about OKC because they're tied together in this. OKC already has the best young big three in the NBA. And if they keep bringing in guys that they don't got to pay for 3-4 years that can come in and immediately have an impact, they're going to be legit trouble. Legit trouble. And they already are, but they're going to be unstoppable as the years come. Let's talk about the Clippers, man. Clippers 5-16. Another loss, a bad loss to the Miami Heat. They gave up 140 points. Scored 123. Kawhi had 30. You know what? I look at Nico Harrison's getting fired in Dallas, and I think about the Clippers GM and how he might need to be the next one at the door. Because you look at last season, the Clippers overachieved. They were not projected to make the playoffs. They ended up going in as a 5 seed, pushing the Nuggets to 7 games behind the play of behind the play of James Harden and the play of Zubac, Big Zoo, who was an All-NBA player last year. And they pushed that team to 7 games. Pushed that series to 7 games, got beaten 7 by the Nuggets. And then, you know, they kind of just went away from building around that team. You know, Norman Powell, who averaged 20 points for them last year, they let him, or they traded him away, you know, and allowed him to go to Miami, and he's having a great year in Miami right now. And funny enough, Miami beat them tonight. Brought in Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Brooke Lopez. You know, I personally like the John Collins pickup, but bringing in all these old guys, and we're seeing right now that that's not going to work. This is a young man's game. This is a young man's game. You know, it's okay to have a couple of old heads. Harden still being very great offensively. Harden, like he's still like 31, but you cannot have a team full of 30 plus pushing 40-year-old guys. You know, there was a game a couple nights ago where they had to go zone because they had a lineup of just elderly, you know, seniority. And those guys can't slide their feet. They can't get stops. You know, and the thing about the Clippers is when you bring in guys this old, injuries are going to happen. Of course, Kawhi Leonard, we know his story. He's already missed a handful of games at the start of the season. Bradley Beal broke his hip. He had hip surgery. He's out for the rest of the season. Chris Paul's picking up DNPs because he's just not that good anymore. Batum is not that good. All these guys that they brought in or that they kept are just not that good. You know what I'm saying? They're just not that good. You got Harden literally fighting against the world every single night, trying to just keep the team above water, and they're sinking. They're drowning, y'all. They're drowning. And like I said, I think the GM needs to be a conversation about the GM, because really ever since that trade, then nothing's happened. You know, they had 1 year where they made the conference finals, pushed the Suns to 6 games in 2021 playoffs without Kawhi Leonard. But besides that, there's been nothing. You know what I'm saying? The championship window for the Clippers since the 2019 trade was so small. Or it wasn't small when it happened, but it shrunk so much with everything that they've been through with the Kawhi Leonard low management, with them missing the entire 2022, 2021, 2022 season, with everything that's happened, you know. It's just been rough. And I think now is a time where the Clippers have got to just blow it up. You got to just blow it up. You know, I know you're paying Kawhi a good grip, and I think Kawhi actually opted into a deal this year to take a bigger deal next season. But, you know, with Kawhi, the whole paying money under the table to him thing came out before the season started, and they're dealing with that. It's tough, y'all. It's tough. I think the Clippers legit need to just start over. You gotta just start over, man, because the guys you got now are not gonna compete. And, you know, right, at least this season you don't got your own draft picks. So you're just losing just to lose. And that's the last place you're gonna be if you are a team that's just losing just to lose. There's no bright spot to them being 5-16 right now. You know what I'm saying? So we'll definitely see what happens. Man, it's not at all a good look. Not at all a good look. Put your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe button, like button, share with your folks. Going for 25 days of Christmas, day 2. We got day 3 coming tomorrow. But until next time, going for 2, we out of here. Yeah.